Hello and welcome to the Villa Talks podcast. We are back, fresh start, fresh looking pod. I'm back with an old and familiar face. Sam, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Omar. Good to see you. Good to talk all things Villa.
Good, mate. Good to have you on. It's been a while, long summer. We're meaning to come back for a while, but just kids, new house, work.
Yep.
Other guys not being available. Sam, you know the score. It's been difficult, but given what's happened, obviously, and given what the news has come out today, we thought an opportune time to come back on and talk about things. Yes, on the pitch and how well things are going, but more importantly, off the pitch, and get the guys' thoughts on that and see what they think, which side of the fence they sit. So I've got Sam with me. I'm going to bring in Alec as well. He's on his phone, dialing in from Miami. So let's see how this goes. I'll get him on. See how this works. This could be a disaster, but it's like the old satellite link from back in the day on news stories. You know, that's what it feels like. Well, let's get him in. Here's our US reporter, Alec. How are you, mate?
Yeah, hi there, Ohms. Hi there, guys. Hi, Sam. Apologies for the bit of a delay. I'm just rushing around. Had a couple of technical problems, but I don't know if now's a good time to tell you, Ohms, with the Champions League, with us making the Champions League, my fee's gone up for the season.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I can see you're sunning yourself, mate. Where are you in the world?
Yeah, still in Miami, mate. I don't really. I work on a boat, but we don't tend to move around too much, so we're sat in the marina at the minute.
Oh, go on, give us a view then. Let's have a look at it. Go on. Let's see what we got to work with. Look at that. Not bad, is it?
Wow.
The Virgin Cruise liner over there. But yeah, nice to see you both. And apologise. I'm a bit late on this one.
No, that's good, man. Good to have you on. I've just realised we're not streaming live on Twitter, where we normally get a lot of viewers, because they've Elon Musk and his usual ways. Apparently, you have to have a premium Twitter account to be able to live stream, which you weren't allowed to do, which you didn't have to do before. But it is what it is. But anyway, let's push on. Sam, we've seen the ticket prices come out. Let's talk about that first. I think with the Champions League on everyone's mind, and that's the main reason why we've brought the pod back today rather than say tomorrow. Here are the prices. You can see for yourself. So I sit up a K4 season ticket holder. So my price for a game will be £79. Non-season ticket holder, and that same stand will be £94. Most expensive, obviously, is £97 there. Wheelchair users, even then, £85 and £70 if you're a season ticket holder. Under 18s, £97.
It's going to absolutely hurt me, that.
Yeah. So I mean, you talk us through it from your position then. So as a father with kids who go to Villa on a regular basis, how does that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a costly do. You know, I took them to Arsenal, and that was costly enough. Big old, when you use your current membership, there's been a bit of a price hike there. So I think it says a lot about the state of the club off the pitch and where we are. But actually, I was expecting those prices to be higher. I don't know. I accept I might be in a minority there, but the mood music that's coming out of the club about having to raise more revenue, and the fact that we've had a number of what I would call sort of stealth price rises. So yes, my season ticket only went up by 5%, but the cost of bringing my kids has gone up loads for the individual games that they're able to attend with me. So there's been, I think they rezoned people, and that ended up with people having to pay more and that kind of thing. So there's been a lot of stealth price rises, and I do very much feel like, we're being. I don't think exploitation is the right word. I mean, but I do think that they're really sweating the paying customer as much as they possibly can. So I was thinking it would be £100 a game, to be honest. So coming in at 80 was a bit less than I thought. But then when you think about, I'm probably not going to be able to get up for all four from the southeast midweek game. But if I was living in Birmingham, earning a Birmingham wage, and wanted to take my kids to all four of those games, the expense is too great, isn't it? It's just not doable. As Roger, I think, has captured the mood beautifully.
Yeah. I mean, no, I agree. Obviously, some of us are fortunate, and obviously myself and yourself, Sam, sit in that camp. Fortunate that we can luckily afford it, and we'll pay it. And I think Villa acknowledge that and appreciate that, and have used that to their advantage to some extent. They know that it's obviously first time in a long time, first time Champions League, first time European Cup for many, however many years it's been, and they're using that to their advantage in terms of the pricing. Alec, I mean, your thoughts, obviously, as a fan living abroad who's not able to attend these matches, having to watch the game in a different way on TV and experience the atmosphere through that. Do you feel any empathy for regular match-going fans and those who are sort of the core? The core. When I say the core fan base, I don't mean obviously people who live abroad are still core fans, but in terms of go to games home and away, do you feel any empathy, or do you understand it from sort of Villa's position, given what's happening?
No, 100%. A lot of empathy for for family, for villains that are there, that want to be there week in, week out and support the team. I think it's going to be a real shame if we get to those opening home Champions League games and Villa Park doesn't have the atmosphere it deserves for the players' efforts and also, all the team's efforts on and off the pitch. So very, very empathetic towards the fans and families that want to take their kids, and also towards the team if we're in that point where we can't get the atmosphere those games deserve for all the hard work that's happened and gone in. So yeah, look, if we end up short of attendance, that's going to be a real shame, because we're going to lose the actual atmosphere a bit as well for what could be a great first campaign in years. So yeah,
I mean, do you think, Ali, do you think it will affect atmosphere? Do you think there will be a negative sentiment going into the game, or do you think that will abate by the time we get to the first game?
Yeah. I don't think there'll be any negativity in terms of. I think there might be, if the fans feel like a protest in a game leading up to it. I think everyone would kind of understand that, and I think we've seen that happen at other clubs as well, haven't we? We've seen fan protests. So if they want to voice it, then that's completely fair enough. For your diehard Villa fans that are there every week, I think I'm more worried about the impact if Villa Park's not full for those Champions League games, rather than kind of a negative kind of atmosphere. More if we can't fill it because of that cost.
Yeah, and they'll playing devil's advocate, Sam. People will say, and was it coincidental that article came out in the Athletic, the interview with Monchi and Vidigani talking about PSR and SCR and dealing with those problems and how they've had to juggle those, and obviously it came to light in terms of Douglas Luiz going for the free that he did, Diaby going when he did. And hopefully gave some fans appreciation of the hard work that's gone in the background. But do you think that's coincidental they came out the day before these prices have come out? And again, playing devil's advocate,
yeah,
some people will say, well, actually, from a PSR perspective, we need as much revenue as we can get.
I think that's fair. I don't want to join the sort of tinfoil hat wearing brigade, but I think at the very least you've got to say it was a little bit of pitch rolling for what was to come. And I think it's a real shame, because obviously we were all absolutely buzzing with the draw, bringing Bayern here for first game. It's absolutely massive, and I think that on the one hand, the commercial department must have been thinking, well, look at the energy around this draw; it's really captured the imagination. We can get a few more quid here. But if you go too far, then what you actually do is you take the excitement out of it, and you kind of puncture that excitement. And I do think from a marketing perspective that there's a real danger that that's what they've done today. And I don't see them rowing back on it either. I think they've probably done the market research. They think, even if we have to fill the stadium with, 5,000 non-legacy fans, a few tourists coming over, whatever, we'll take the 100 quid, And I think that, as you say, that's the danger, isn't it? That those fans will perhaps enjoy the game in a different way to the people that would have been there, giving their all and singing their heart out. And that's the worry for me.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I have my views on it and thoughts, and I'll comment to that in a second. But I'm obviously more interested to hear about you guys and what you think. And there's been some interesting backlash, feedback, response to obviously the prices. Villa fans and non-Villa fans alike. Kieran Maguire obviously is one that everyone knows. Football finance expert. He's put a tweet out today. So if you can read that, covering Alex's face there. Sorry, mate. But Aston Villa earn 18.6 million euros for qualifying for the Champions League. Will get 2.1 million for a win. I think that's meant to say win, and 700,000 for a draw in the group stages. 11 million for getting to the last 16. In addition, they get a share of the 835 million euro pot linked to the prior performance and money put in by TNT. And there's some sort of additional evidence there to show that. So why the high match ticket prices, and likewise again the FSA, I think it's FSA, isn't it? Football Supporters Foundation or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. Have done this sort of article in the past, and this sort of is quite relevant to what's happening in terms of the importance of match day revenue. And remember, this is match day revenue, not just ticket prices. This is total revenue, and the small proportion of it, the small percentage of match day revenue in terms of when compared to the the total revenue for various clubs, and for us it's 9% of overall income. At their point, whether it's battling for the title, go for Champions League, looking for relegation, it's a relatively small chunk of a club's overall revenue. And the fact that normal supporters are suffering, and what we don't want to see, Alec, I suppose, is what we see in Man City. A club that's really, really successful, more successful than obviously we have been for a long time. Yes, Champions League is an amazing step, something we could never have dreamed of. But to get to what Man City have done in terms of title after title, Champions League, etc., we can only dream of that still, even in this position. But their fan base and what we see now with their Premier League games and the Champions League game, where the atmosphere is, let's face it, it's pretty awful. There's lots of fans there have been going for years and years and seen them in League Two, League One, etc. But there's a lot of new fans. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with bringing new fans, but it does change the culture and the makeup of the club, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we all want Villa Park to be booming for this Champions League kind of entry this year, and no one wants to see an atmosphere that's dwindling at Villa Park. I don't think it will. I'm really positive, but of course the prices will have a bit of an impact. And I hope all those Villa fans that do go there week in, week out, midweek, evening games, cup games, Premier League games, I really hope they can still be there, still make it for the Champions League, regardless of prices, because they're the 12th man. They're the ones that carry the team through thick and thin. So, yeah, I'll try and think positively about it. But obviously, I think there's going to be a lot of frustrated fans out there that are concerned. So, yeah, echo those thoughts, really.
Yeah, and I suppose, Chadsy obviously, has been on this pod plenty of times, one of the original members. I was talking to him and a few others on our WhatsApp group, and he's put out a tweet actually, which was quite interesting, I thought, which sort of sums it up, where he talks about ultimately the people who are making decisions know that they won't be around for the long term, and one day in the future they won't be here. So, absolutely they can exploit our loyalty in the short term because they're not here for the long term. They care about, and they do care. The owners have pumped loads of money. I'm not saying that they are been fantastic. The footballing, even the off-football Chris Heck, as much as I haven't agreed with a lot of things he's done, some of the things he's done, has been completely the right thing. And I'm sure he's going to increase the revenue and do what he's there for. But they understand, that it's a business for them. They've got career objectives, they've got KPIs, as Adam, as Chadsy puts it in his tweets, and probably bonuses linked to how they increase their revenue, and that's primarily what they're concerned about. It'd be the same as us, if we were in that job, taking aside the being Villa fans. I suppose the only potential issue, and this is what Chadsy said in his tweet, is, and the only intervention might be, is Unai won't want a special year and special atmosphere ruined by negative sentiment. And this does feel like it's a little bit, a little bit too far, maybe. Yeah, we've seen season ticket prices actually, only going up 5%, but obviously they went up quite substantially last year. We've seen, the Holt End hospitality area in Holt End, which is, in my opinion, sacrilege. That shouldn't happen. I understand other people might think differently, but I just don't think you should have a hospitality area in your main stand. I don't agree with that. Everywhere else, yeah, no problem. And I understand the need to, prime seats to change them to hospitality to try and get additional revenue and what they've done around that. I have no massive issues with that, but I think this may be a step too far, especially what we saw the first game of the season. Sam, were you there in the first game, the first home game of the season? It was an absolute nightmare. Let's be honest. I mean, I got there an hour and a bit early to go to the shop to buy something for my son because he desperately wanted to come to the game. I couldn't take him, so I was like, I'll get you something from the Villa store, and I wanted to see it as well. I couldn't actually get past anyone because there was so many queues to get in the ground, and then when you got in the ground, nothing's changed. It's probably worse for the normal match-going fan anyway. And also, the toilet fiasco with piss everywhere. Talk about taking the piss. It was terrible. Heck has said in the past, and again, I'll bring this up now. I'll show you. This is something that he's quoted, and Matt Lynch, who actually is going to be one of the regulars on the pod now going forward, which I'm pleased to say, tweeted this out. Thanks to him for sharing this. This is something that Heck said previously. I think it may be in the summer or maybe end of last year. He promised not to exploit the club's most loyal fans. We're trying to drive the club's revenue to £400 million. That's his target by 2027. And his quotes were, that's the formula that we have found. Let's protect our season ticket base, our local fans first, the core fan, protect them, and then find a new revenue stream to pump up the value of the club and the spending opportunity of the club. Now, that's all good, all well and good, isn't it? That sentiment. But in reality, yes, you might say, well, the season ticket holder price is less than, say, a non-season ticket holder. But still, even if they reduce the price, I think even by £20 across the board, that's over 4 games, that's £3 million revenue lost. Is that really, Sam? Is that really insurmountable in terms of bringing getting that revenue from elsewhere?
Yeah, I think you've I agree with a number of things that obviously Chadsy's tweeted and that you've said. That the first one being that it's a small proportion of overall revenue. And yet that seems to be the one that they're most focused on, which seems to be a little bit wrong-headed to me. And I think that it really just stick in the craw of the typical fan who's season ticket only went up 5% this year, but it's gone up a lot for me over the past 3 years. And the product on the pitch is great, but you really feel like nobody's really taking care of the match going fan, to be honest, and I think that's a real shame because so much has gone so right since Unai Emery came in, and it's ironic, I suppose, in a sense that Chris Heck is probably going to be really good at growing the revenue, and he's probably going to do it and hit his KPI, as you say, but the difficulty is, does he do it in a way that actually threatens the culture of the club in the long term? And I think that I totally agree with you. I think that's a risk that's not worth taking, actually. I think it's a bit poor. The only thing I would say is, do you think they were looking at the Oasis tickets fiasco? And Chris Heck probably put his head on his pillow the other night and thought, dynamic pricing? Could we?
Yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Valencia, did you see Valencia are doing it? So.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
No, yeah. So Valencia have put out something saying that they're going to start doing dynamic pricing, but what always makes me far, because I understand, obviously, given your username, Sam, you understand economics more than I do, and I've done an economics degree. You're obviously, much more literate when it comes to economics than I am.
Probably not, but anyway.
Yeah. But, I understand dynamic pricing. I understand how it works. I understand it, especially in the entertainment industry. But again, likewise, I understand, supply and demand. But I mean, I'm sure you agree with me, Alec, but, this is football. It's different. Yeah. I know it's a business, but,
but it's a club. The word is club. That's club, what it is.
It's a club, and it's a community, isn't it, Alec? I think about my, going to my first game with my brother and my dad, Norwich, at home, 94 maybe, 0-0, terrible game, but actually fell in love with the game. And I think about, all the dads, mums with their kids, families who might, this may be their first ever game, Champions League game, just see Villa in and have their kid fall in love with Villa. And yes, for a lot of fans, it's fine; they can afford it. But Alec, imagine you're a parent, you've got kids, you want to go to this game, you can't afford it. How does that make you feel? As a Villa fan, I think there's that essence. And I know it's idealistic to think about it, and I know it's maybe pie in the sky, and maybe that's not how the real world works. And I understand that, but it's football. It's different. It's supposed to be different, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I agree with what you're both saying, and also with Chatty's comments. I think we're in a real danger of I've heard people mention about the Premier League and football as a whole at the minute, of losing that feeling we've all had years ago of going through the turnstile and dropping your ticket in or paying that amount, that we're going further and further away from. The club is growing very quickly, but you can't forget the fans that are supporting that club. And the talk of your match day experience, when we're investing so heavily in corporate side of the club, you've got to be really careful not to lose your diehard fans that are the bread and butter of the club and the heartbeat of the club. So yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, and I think it is a concern. I see a lot of good that Hex bring into the club, and we've obviously got to raise the commercial value and our global kind of brand. But you can't do that at the expense of losing your most loyal supporters for this Champions League campaign. So, yeah, I think there are some concerns. Maybe there's a lot of talk of offset of costs. I mean, the owners are limited on what they've been able to spend, and they're keen investors in the club. So maybe in a situation like this, there's something that the club can do to make sure those fans are all there at those Champions League home games. So... Yeah, we can only hope.
Yeah, I know, and I do. Again, I do get it from a PSR perspective. We were probably, hours away from getting a points deduction, if you believe the stories. And you look at Newcastle ourselves, a very similar position where we've broken the ceiling. When I said broken, we've probably made a dent in the ceiling. Let's be honest, and we're trying to break through, and we're not being allowed to do that. And I'm sure the owners would love to pump more money in, and this is one way to do that. But an extra £3 million of revenue. As someone's put in the comments, you can do naming rights, you can get a sponsorship deal. Uzbekistan, the delegate were here, weren't they, at Villa Park this last week? I don't know if you saw that. Maybe there's some sort of sponsorship deal going on there. But there's different ways of going about it. One is not to make stupid mistakes and buy players on lots and lots of high wages that aren't going to do anything. Coutinho, Luka D, Carlos, those types of players, Dendoncker, that's football. You can't get every decision right. I understand that, but there's a lot more you can do, and it shouldn't fall at the feet of the fans to right those mistakes. And I'll be honest, I could be completely honest. If it means that through extra £3 million, we can get Gertrude, whatever his name is, from Feyenoord, who I think he's gone to RB Leipzig now.
That's right.
We couldn't get. If it means we can get someone like him and finish an extra place up the table, then I don't really care. I'll be honest. Yeah. I'd rather we not lose our fan base. I'd rather those, someone who was in my dad's position, when we went to the game, where it was 30 years ago, is able to afford to go to a game, because that person, although that family, will bring so much to Villa over the long term, because they'll be here forever. And then their children and those children and their children and so on and so forth will become Villa fans. Like my children are now becoming Villa fans because my dad was a Villa fan. And again, that's me being very idealistic and maybe thinking about it in the wrong way. But that's the way I see it. I think there's more to football than finishing fourth. And other fans will disagree with me, and that's fine. They'll say, well, if you want this club to grow, you want it to be successful, and you want it to stay around in the higher end and see us compete for trophies, then this is what we need to do. But in my opinion, £3 million is nothing. You can do that in other ways, and you could sell one of our younger players if you had to. You could, to be honest, I couldn't even care if you sold Ollie Watkins, as much as I love him and as much as he's probably my favourite player, if it meant that we don't lose the heartbeat of the football club. I'm not saying that's where it leads to, but these decisions, they build up over time. We've seen it over the last couple of years since Chris Ecker's come in. I'm not putting it solely at his feet, because I'm sure the owners have a lot to say to this, but you can see the direction the club's heading off the pitch, and you can see the series of missteps that have happened over the last couple of years. And previous missteps have been football related. Let's be honest, they've been the wrong decision, the wrong manager, the wrong player, the wrong strategy, mixed signals, all that kind of stuff. Now we're seeing working really well, and the owners have got lucky that not lucky in respect of picking Unai Emery, but lucky that it's worked and it continues to work, and we're doing so well on the pitch that it masks the off the pitch stuff. But they've got to be very careful, because we will be shit eventually. It will happen. We can't be good. Even look at Man United. I know they're still competing for the top 6 or whatever, but from their perspective, in the context of what they've done in recent years, they're shit.
If you said to a Man U fan in 2012, if you told a Man U fan in 2012 that this was what they were going to be like in 2024 and how much they'd win, they wouldn't have believed you. They'd just think, how can you go from being so preeminent to just being absolute dross? But as you say, it can happen.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, sorry, a question for both of you. That I know there was a lot of talk that on the pitch side of things, on the playing side, our improvement was so quick and so fast that a lot of the stadium plans were shelved to expand due to that kind of rapid growth on the pitch. So do you think perhaps if those developments had gone ahead, do you think we'd be in a situation where those Champions League tickets are at that price, or perhaps they would have been lower because more fans getting in? Just wonder whether that's played a part.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, and I do think that we desperately need to expand the stadium if we want to compete at that level. But that's possibly a discussion for another day. But I also think it's mad to think that Gerrard was given the money to buy those players. Dean's probably the only success really on those massive salaries, and we've had so much success that's brought so much extra revenue. Europe, full stadiums, so it couldn't have gone any better actually, from a revenue point of view, and we're still knackered. So why did people not point this out when they were making those signings? Because the numbers must be as good as they could have possibly thought that they would be at this stage.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And obviously, the Grealish money masked a lot of the issues, and that fell away, obviously, and that's the reason why we are where we are. But there's a gamble, and there's being stupid, and we've sort of toe the line between the two. I think not really the fault of the current regime, albeit obviously the owners were there before, so they signed off on everything. So there is a bit of accountability there. But I just don't know what they were thinking. And it's great we've done so well. But going back to your point, Alec, I think I think they would have done the same pricing, because it's just a way to maximize revenue, and going back to
more.
If not more, if not higher, because there would have been less seats and it would have taken time to build those. So build that
true.
stadium.
I see your point in that.
But I don't know. I think we're in the Champions League. We finished top 4. Surely there's a way to get a bit of extra revenue for sponsorship and things like that. And the Adidas deal and Batana deal are great. Whether they are, as they say they are, there's been rumours that actually the Adidas deal isn't as good as we first thought, and there's a lot of incentives there and hurdles they have to first achieve, probably hurdles that they probably won't be able to achieve just given the size of the club. That would mean they can get the actual revenue that the headline figures show. But you look at Newcastle, for example. They have had the same PSR issues as us, but their prices were very reasonable last year when they were in the Champions League. And again, similar position. They're still been in the Champions League more recently than us, but a club that's was dying on its arse for a long period of time under the previous ownership, to get to the promised land of Champions League. Very exciting for the club. It's a big club, a bigger stadium, not as big as Villa, but in terms of as a club, but obviously a very, very big club and a bigger stadium, and probably just as big fan base, given it's a one city club. They did not exploit the fans like this when they could have. And they had the same reasons to do it in terms of PSR, and they didn't, and they've suffered this year because of it. But they didn't do that, so it's not like it's someone can say, because I can show you quotes from the Bayern president, which I think is another one that Matt Lynch put on about the club president. He said this before. This is years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, about charging more and why, in Germany they have the model that they have in terms of ticket prices and things like that. What's £2 million, £2 to them? Yeah. It's not a massive difference. It's a bigger difference for a fan compared to what it is for them. And I understand people say, well, that's Bayern Munich. They've been in the Champions League year on year and they've got massive revenues. And I get that. I understand that. But the principle remains. And I think that principle is prevalent throughout Germany. And it's something that we could definitely learn from. And, no one's, I've criticized Perslow and people like that in the past, and I've been very harsh on them, and I've probably been a little bit harsh on Heck as well in certain pods. But I do understand it a little bit, but they just need to be a bit careful. And look at the backlash, look at the furore, look at the fan views on this. And I know social media is one thing, but I think that's pretty representative of what's going on in the wider Villa fan community. I think they need to just, maybe take a step back and reassess this. And it's not too late to reassess it and just get fans back on side a little bit. I'm not saying there's going to be a revolt or anything like that, but let's not take the piss.
Yeah, agree.
I totally agree. I think a bit of healthy backlash isn't a bad thing. If fans aren't happy, they've got to speak up. There's no way to supportive of the team after the international break because of this, because I don't think Villa fans have been behind this team so much as they are right now because of the positivity about the club. But if people aren't happy and families can't get to a game and actually enjoy this whole Champions League experience, then it doesn't mean a lot, does it? So I think fans have got to voice their opinion, and maybe the club will have a rain check on it and think about kind of moving forward. So yeah, I'm all for a little bit of healthy backlash. We've got to appreciate where we are as a football club, and we're doing very well. But if fans aren't happy, then it's got to be voiced 100%.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. I don't think. I think there is. We've been guilty of it in the past. I think under Randy Lerner as an example, where we just took everything at face value and went along with the wave and didn't question everything, didn't question too much that was going on when we probably should have. And as a fan base, Alec, you're completely right. I think it's healthy. And you need to challenge, because ultimately they're stewards of this club. This is our club. They are, yes, they might become fans now, but they're in it for a different reason. And billionaires don't become billionaires by appeasing to the masses. They become billionaires because they maximize opportunities, and this is what they're looking to do. So let's never forget that. As much as we love the owners,
yep,
you do not become a billionaire for being being philanthropic. Let's be honest. Albeit they may be more philanthropic now than they were before, but because they've got the money. But we always need to be conscious of that, and we always need to be speaking out. And that's, as Alex says, it's a healthy thing, because ultimately they probably won't be here in 10, 15, 20 years time. We will still be here, and the club that they leave behind, we're going to have to pick up the pieces wherever it is, whether it's in a good state or a bad state, and we're going to have to drive it forward. And we are the heartbeat of the club. As much as TV revenue and global fan bases, obviously speaking to someone who's in Miami at the moment, but he was a Villa fan, been going to games, moved away. We've got Brummies, ourselves, Sam, obviously from near the area in Leamington. Obviously you live down south. We've been local to the club. We are still part of that heartbeat, and all of our backgrounds are from family or friends, whoever, who are part of that heartbeat, and that's how the club's organically grown and will continue to grow as well. And we don't want to lose that.
No, completely. That agree 100%.
Right, let's. I think we've done that to death a little bit, and there's a lot more that we can say. In terms of what they could have done instead. People here saying sort of about bundles and tiered bundles and things like that. Rachel, I think that's a really good point. Kevin there talking about what he was expecting. I think that kind of figure would have been fine. I think people expected it to be that figure. Some maybe, as Sam said, maybe expected to be a little bit more, but. I think just a bit of common sense would have done, but that's done. It is what it is, and we'll continue to. We've always done that on the pod. We've always been critical when we've needed to be critical of Villa. We've never tried to just go along with everything. Always try and see it with a critical eye, because I think that's important, whether we agree or not. And a lot of things we have agreed with, but a lot of things we haven't. So I think we'll always try and do that. But let's talk about on the pitch stuff then. Alec, I'll go to you first, mate. Watching from afar, what have you made to just quickly? Obviously, we'll spend probably 5-10 minutes on this, and then we'll call it a day. What have you thought of the? Well, actually, let's rephrase this. What were your thoughts going into the season in terms of expectations and how preseason went, and what are your thoughts now, 3 games in, and how we've played?
Yeah, I think I was of the mindset that pre-season had to be taken with a bit of a pinch of salt, because there are other motives for being out in America, growing Villa with global fan base and whatnot, and what a lot of clubs are doing now. But yeah, look, I'm absolutely over the moon watching Villa at the minute. We're obviously not quite at the levels we know we can get to, but I was never massively concerned about the loss of Luis, even though I think he's a fantastic player. As soon as I saw Onana come through the door, I was more than happy. And watching what he's brought to that Villa midfield, and how even Tielemans' level is now rising because of having Onana next to him. Yeah, I couldn't be happier about that midfield for Villa. I think there's so many options. I think he's that kind of brutish force we needed in midfield for a long time, that knows how to tackle smart and foul smart as well, which I never thought Dougie could do, foul smart. So, yeah, I'm absolutely over the moon. Shame Ollie's not hit form yet, but he looks a little bit rusty, not quite game sharp, but he's got Duran, nipping at his heels now, which it looks like it's weighing a little bit heavy, but hopefully Ollie finds his scoring boots, because I think we've got a great team at the minute. So I'm excited.
Yeah. No, I echo that. Sam, Alec mentioned Yuri Tielemans there. For me, he's been probably I was 3 games in, obviously, for player of the season so far, in terms of the one I've been most impressed with, and the one that's knitted it all together. As amazing as Onana has been, and sort of headline grabbing as he's been. How impressed have you been with that midfield and Yuri Tielemans in particular?
Yeah, I think I said to you on the WhatsApp chat, against Arsenal and probably to a greater extent against Leicester, absolutely love watching that triumvirate in midfield. There was a moment in the Leicester game. It was great atmosphere at the King Power, and I thought that we definitely did more than enough to win the game, despite a few slightly dodgy parts of the game. But there was one moment where he's picked the ball up on the left and he's gone on this mazy dribble. He's pulled the ball back, possibly should have had a shot, but his technical ability is absolutely unreal. And he finished last season so strongly. You think Luis finished last season very poorly. We can talk about whether that was because of the loss of Kamara. But I mean, if you're the level of footballer that Dougie wants to be, I don't think you can say, well, I can only do it when I've got Booby here, And I thought that his level was dropping at the end of the season, and Tielemans was starting to show us glimpses. And I totally agree with Alec that Onana seems to be giving him that platform to really, the through ball for Ollie's first chance when the keeper brought him down, just sumptuous. He oozes class. The physicality is the thing that I was always questioning with him. I think that's less of an issue with Onana next to him. So yeah, no, really, really happy with that, and it'd be interesting to see. I think that Monchi said that the idea is that they're going to play Kamara and Onana. So I'd imagine you're going to have a sort of midfield 3, and maybe McGinn goes wide. McGinn's been unreal. So I also think McGinn's been fabulous so far this season. I think he's playing his best football ever in a Villa shirt. But it's hard, isn't it? Because you think, is he a guaranteed start once Kamara comes back? I'm not sure, but that just shows what depth we have in midfield now. We've got the captain, someone who's playing brilliant football, and you're thinking, could we be a bit vulnerable when Kamara comes back? So, yeah, I'm super excited. In the fantasy Sam Cleary league table, we've got 9 points and Arsenal have got 4, because we really should have turned them over. And we've gone to West Ham. A lot of people were talking up West Ham's chances. We've gone to London Stadium and took the points. We went to Leicester and took the points when Spurs could only manage a point there. I think we've had an absolutely fine start to the season. I predict we'll smash Everton and we'll be looking in great shape by then.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Alec, I don't know if you managed to read that article, but Onana looks like he turned down a big club, but probably Man United by the sounds of it. Obviously, Eric Ten Hag couldn't convince him otherwise, and he turned them down to come join Villa again. A show of ambition for him, and the ambition, the level that we're at now as a club.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm waxing lyrical about Onana. I just think he's everything we've needed for a long time. You even see it in our own box when we're defending. He's there, he's clearing the ball. And I think as much as the Premier League is such a technical league, you still need height in there. You still need a guy who's going to commit and get the head on it. And I think Onana is just a different level of what we've had before for a long time. I can't even remember when we had a player with Onana's capabilities. I think he's only going to get better. But I echo what Sam said about McGinn. It's easy to kind of overlook John McGinn and be like, he's just steady and consistent. But he really is delivering as well. And I think hats off to Digne as well, because there's been a lot of talk about would Digne go out the door, and it looks like the guy's just got the bit between his teeth, and he's playing out of his skin as well. So I think there's a lot of questions. When will Maatsen? I see someone, kind of spoken up. When will Maatsen get a chance? Because he's obviously got a lot to offer as well. So very excited.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Luca Digne back in the French squad, it's really well deserved. He's been fantastic. He's probably again been one of our best players this season, and again towards the tail end of last season. So Ian Maatsen's got a fight in his hand, but that's what we wanted, isn't it? We finally got some depth. Yes, we're probably missing one more body in defence, I would say. Gertrude would have been ideal because he can play both right back and centre back, but maybe it's a chance for Bogart. It'd be nice to get a young player a chance. I think he was all right against Leicester. I think he got some deserved criticism for the goal because I think he committed too early and he was probably a bit tired by the end of it. But I actually think he was all right, and I can see the potential there. He plays a very similar style to Konza in terms of how he carries the ball, how he defends. Yeah. He's obviously a long way away from finished article, but why not give him a chance? But going back to Onana, really, I think a big thing that's missing as well is just the personality. He's a winner. It seems like he's really trying to get to the club, trying to get the club and the fans on side, a bit like Unai did initially and continues to do when he's interviews. Onana is obviously well versed in how to get fans on side, and everything he says, you sort of lap it up. You know what he's doing, but you lap it up. But also he's a really intelligent player, a really intelligent bloke as well. He speaks, I don't know, 5 or 6 different languages. I don't know if it's a Belgian thing because Lukaku's the same, but that's good for the club. I've noticed, he's conversed with a lot of players in their own language, like Luca Digne, Pau, Duran as well. I think that's a critical thing people might have missed is him and Duran seem to have a very good relationship, and Onana seems to be in his ear a little bit as well in terms of, you can see obviously McGinn's there, he's the leader of the pack, but Onana's there in the background as almost like a friend to say, look, me and you, let's do this together, let's get this club back to where it belongs, and do well every game and have the right attitude. And I think Duran, again, another player, Sam, who's is chomping at the bit. A player. Me and Alec talked about with this along with our friend Nick on our group about Duran and how we didn't really want him to leave. As much as whatever happened over the summer, we didn't want him to leave because he's one of the best alternative second strikers, whatever you want to call it, sub strikers in the league, and the potential is massive. And we've seen that this year, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was excellent on Saturday when he came on, because we know he's got an eye for goal, and he's got a kind of sense of the unpredictable, and he shoots from all angles, and he's a live wire, so that's priced in to an extent. But what I was really impressed with on Saturday was he's linking the play, he's running back into the left back position to cover colleagues, and he just looks like technically he seems to have improved in his ability to pick up good positions and play a pass. The JJ chance against Arsenal, that was a lovely little through ball. I thought that really epitomised the difference in him. It was great. It was really good decision making and really good well executed pass. And there was loads more of that on Saturday against Leicester. I think if you were going to go out there and buy a second striker, pay 20-25 million, there was talk about people like Iheanacho or whatever. I mean, there's absolutely no question that John Duran's ceiling, nobody knows where it is. He's got all the attributes, he's got all the tools. Question marks about attitude, but if Onana can get him fist bumping with the crowd at the end of each game, I'm sure that'll go a long way. I'm delighted he stayed, to be honest. I think that Joao Felix is obviously a player that we were heavily linked with and that a lot of people wanted, but for me, I think Duran will post better numbers than Joao Felix this season. Even from the bench.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and obviously different types of players, but Alec, it's funny, isn't it, how he was the most hated man in Villa Park over the summer, and then suddenly, just 2 goals later, he's beloved by everyone. He's got a new song.
Yeah.
It shows you how fickle fans can be, but also, he's a young lad, isn't he? He's only 20 years old. I think we forget that he's come from a new country, different culture. He's got the world at his feet, and if I was 20 years old, earning that money, and I was that good at football, I'd probably be a prick too, to be honest. I don't know if you'd be, but you're too nice. You're too nice.
I don't think you would, Omar.
I think, but I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? He needs Unai. I think Unai recognises that. Do you think, in terms of putting an arm around him and getting the best out of him?
Yeah, I think there's I think a couple of the players, was it John McGinn, spoke out recently and just said, look, maybe I was a little bit harsh on him. And I think there's a few players actually putting their arm around him at the moment. And it is what we need. He's obviously got a big personality, maybe a bit fiery. But with the potential he's got, perhaps we give him a little bit of leeway, get the players to support him. And he's already shown in a couple of games what his potential is. And you kind of feel for Ollie Watkins a little bit at the minute, because every game he doesn't score, he's obviously aware of the pressure on him. He's bound to, but we all know what Ollie Watkins is like. He only needs 1 goal. It's a cliche that he's a confidence player, but he really is. So 1 goal and he's going to be smashing goals in for fun. So yeah, Duran's a massively exciting prospect. I think we all know it, and we all kind of want to unleash him a little bit on teams, but I'm sure Unai has everything kind of set in his plans and how he wants to do it. So in Unai we trust.
In Unai we trust. I think that's a good place to leave it there. It's been great to be back on your airwaves. Next time I will get that Twitter sorted. I'm gonna have to pay Elon Musk's money to get premium, I think, to get it live streamed, but it is what it is. But it's good to be back. We're going to be back on a regular basis. So I always said before that I couldn't promise it, but this time I do, and I'm determined to get it back on a regular basis, to be more consistent. Because we had, let's face it, as a pod, we were doing, not that we look at numbers or anything like that. Really, it's more about just chatting with our mates. But we obviously have very successful when we first started, and we haven't been consistent. So a lot of fans and listeners and viewers who used to listen to us on a regular basis and consistent basis have gone. No longer with us. No, that's not wrong. That's the wrong phrase.
Yeah. Still alive.
Probably still alive. Hopefully still alive.
Yeah.
But obviously gone into the pods or whatever, just don't get a chance to listen to us. So and that's our fault for not being consistent. So we will be consistent, and in true sort of Champions League style of we've built the squad up. And we've got some depth of quality this year. So we've got Alec and Sam, obviously, who've been on the pods before. Sam, regular. Alec, who's also recently been a regular. I've known Alec for a long time as well. So, obviously we've got a bit of rapport there, sorry. But both of them will be on regular. I'll try and get AJ and Carl and Yara as well to come on as regular as they can. I can't promise anything because they've got busy lives, but we've also, I'm glad to say, we've got Matt Lynch and Rob Warner joining us on a regular basis as well. So 2 stalwarts of the Villa social media community. Matt, obviously one of the original founders of the Villa View, excellent. I think as a commentator on Villa in terms of what's going on, and someone who's really intelligent and has a great way about him. Was on Claret and Blue recently and is on there quite regularly as well. And then Rob Warner, who's expert kit designer, who's been on the pod a couple of times before in the early part of when we first started. He'll be on a regular basis. He's promised me, and he's again a great bloke, really insightful, really funny and witty, much more witty and funnier than me. Probably not as funny as Alec, although Alec hasn't shown that side yet. It's coming. But yeah, they'll be on a regular basis. So we'll have a bigger squad to pick from. So hopefully we can do that on a more regular basis. So it becomes a bit easier to get 1, 2, 3, 4 of us on the pod. So yeah, I don't really know how YouTube works. So smash that like button, subscribe, post notifications, all that good jazz. I don't know how that really works. I don't really care. If you enjoy it, then subscribe. That's the main thing. But thank you to the boys for coming on. We'll be back next week before the Everton game, post international break, to discuss Villa and talk hopefully more things about on the pitch rather than off the pitch. But thank you, boys, for joining me. Alec, enjoy the Miami weather, mate. I'll see you on WhatsApp, I'm sure. And Sam, probably see you at games.
Yeah, I'm
soon,
going
mate.
to Everton, so I might see you then.
All right, mate. All right. Take care,
All the
everyone.
All the best, boys.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And come back next week.